in my view, why the US president has been repeatedly asserting his claim that he negotiated the ceasefire is, in my perception, the US wants both the South Asian neighbors, India and Pakistan, on US side. If you see the praise which Donald Trump has been heaping on Pakistan, that it's a great country, that its leaders are great, inviting Asim Munir. So the American tilt in favor of Pakistan is very clear. And although the Indian criticism of the United States has been muted, except for the last phone call which I referred to, India has not challenged since the beginning Donald Trump's assertion that they mediated the ceasefire and also their intention to mediate on Kashmir issue. So the big question mark is, why is Prime Minister Modi so coy about the US claim, Donald Trump's claim about the ceasefire? Is there anything more to it? If Modi had been like Putin, acted tough, that our goal is to completely eliminate the terrorist bases, and we'll pinpoint and identify and go beyond to liberate the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, probably he would have got some leeway. But, as a meek leader, at the very first opportunity, India succumbed to the US pressure. This goes to show the enormous leverage this US administration has over the Indian government.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. US President Donald Trump has once again claimed that he indeed brokered peace and made a ceasefire possible between India and Pakistan last month, days after India repeated similar claims by him. Now, in an apparent U-turn from last week, Trump reiterated again on Wednesday that he had told the leaders of both India and Pakistan that he would stop trade if they did not budge, claiming the US eventually stopped a nuclear war. Now, this time, Trump made this assertion while he was speaking to the NATO nations. Now, NATO is an organization which consists of 32 nations. And before 32 nations, he's made this assertion once again, thereby proving Prime Minister Modi as a liar, and also apparently ending up projecting as if India cannot stand anywhere as far as its foreign policy is concerned. And it has also repeatedly shown that India doesn't know how to stand up to America. India doesn't know how to object to America. Now, if you remember, Trump had last week said that the very smart leaders of India and Pakistan decided that they would not continue the war and stopped short of crediting himself for the ceasefire. And this time, as I told you, that he was speaking to the reporters at a NATO summit in Hague, in Netherlands, where Trump mentioned that recent military conflicts around the world, including the Israel-Iran war and Russia-Ukraine war, but said that the most important of them all was the India-Pakistan conflict, which he said he managed to put an end. And I'm exactly going to quote what Trump said, and then we'll begin the conversation, that maybe the most important of them all wars was India and Pakistan. So which means he's underlining it, he's categorically saying it. I ended that with a series of phone calls and said that if you fight each other, we are not doing any trade deal. General Asim Munir was very impressive. Prime Minister Modi is a great friend of mine. He's a great gentleman, and I got them to reason. They said, we want a trade deal, so we stopped a nuclear war. This is what Donald Trump has been saying. But if you remember what the Indian Prime Minister has said and what the diplomats, how they have projected it, that it was at the DGMO level that the ceasefire was accomplished. So, what does it do to India? What does it do to the image of the Prime Minister now that he has spoken about this at Hague, where the NATO summit is on? And how significant does it become when Prime Minister Donald Trump makes this assertion at a NATO summit? Joining me this evening is Professor Aftab Pasha, international affairs expert and diplomat. So thank you so much for joining. And the very fact that Donald Trump has chosen to speak at the NATO summit about this, how significant is this?
It's quite significant because just a few days ago, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, he had a phone call in which he reportedly emphasized that, India and Pakistan negotiated bilaterally the ceasefire and there is no room for third-party mediation. It came in the context of G7 summit where Prime Minister Modi was looking forward to meeting the US President Donald Trump. But unfortunately, due to the ongoing Israeli-Iran fighting, Donald Trump had to cut short his visit and rush back to Washington, D.C. So apparently the Prime Minister of India had a 30-minute phone call or so in which this was reiterated that the problems between India and Pakistan, the recent flare-up was negotiated by the Director General of Military Operations. And, he seemed to refute the claim by the United States that it had mediated the ceasefire between these two South Asian nuclear powers, which he has mentioned, the US President, for at least a dozen times, if not more. What is significant, in my view, why the US President has been repeatedly asserting his claim that he negotiated the ceasefire is, in my perception, the US wants both the South Asian neighbors, India and Pakistan, on US side. You see, the conflict between India and Pakistan over Kashmir and a host of other issues has been botheration for the US administration. And they feel that just as in the context of Arab-Israeli conflict, they need both Israel and Egypt after the Camp David Accord in 1978-79. Likewise, to tackle the Chinese threat as the Americans perceive, they need the cooperation of both India and Pakistan because of the strategic location. India because of its size, the logistical facilities it has, and Pakistan because of its proximity to China, Afghanistan, Russia, Central Asia, Iran, so on and so forth. So, and also the belief that Pakistan would be much more forthcoming in offering facilities to the United States, just as it has done over the last several decades during the Cold War. So they believe that it is easier and manageable to get into the facilities in Pakistan because they have done this during the Cold War, during Ayub Khan and Yahya Khan and Ziaul Haq, because they got rid of the Soviets from Afghanistan because of Pakistan's Ziaul Haq's cooperation with Saudi money, etc. So now the main target after their failure in Ukraine to break up or defeat the Russians and also the inability to cut the relationship between Russia and China, the American focus is now almost exclusively on the Chinese. Donald Trump has washed off his hands virtually from the Ukraine conflict and handed over the fight to the Europeans and NATO. So in that way, the looming crisis between America and China, the only possible way through which any containment of China militarily and strategically would be possible through India and China. So this flare-up after Pahalgam came to the Americans as a big shock. And they have utilized this terrorist attack and India's response to intervene and bring about this ceasefire. Although the Pakistanis have welcomed this American initiative to get the ceasefire, and also they have been goading the Americans to mediate on the Kashmir issue. But India has been, touchy about this issue because it gives leverage, unnecessary leverage to the United States to act on its behalf, that is Pakistan. You see, if you see the praise which Donald Trump has been heaping on Pakistan, that it's a great country, that its leaders are great, and inviting Asim Munir. So the American tilt in favor of Pakistan is very clear. And although the Indian criticism of the United States has been muted, except for the last phone call which I referred to, India has not challenged since the beginning Donald Trump's assertion that they mediated the ceasefire and also their intention to mediate on Kashmir issue. So the big question mark is, why is Prime Minister Modi so coy about the U.S. claim, Donald Trump's claim about the ceasefire? Is there anything more to it? We may discuss if there is any issue on that.
No, but Professor Pasha, now given the fact that I'm coming back to the significance of the moment, that the very fact that Donald Trump chose to say this at NATO, and obviously he's trying to earn brownie points that, look, this is what he said. If you look at the complete clip, he's saying that Vladimir Putin is a difficult precedent, because there was a reporter who asked him that, why have you not been able to stop the Russia-Ukraine war, even when you are 5 months into your presidency, 5 or 6 months. So he says that Vladimir Putin is difficult. And he says that, look, I tackled Serbia, then I tackled Rwanda and Congo. And yes, the best was India and Pakistan. And then follows on what he says. So the very fact that he's trying to gain brownie points, what do you think is the objective of Donald Trump? Of course, he's putting down Prime Minister Modi. He's looking down on India when he says all this. But at the same time, what is Donald Trump trying to achieve for himself?
You see, his goal is very simple, that having been unable to achieve the ceasefire or an end to the Ukraine war, as he had promised repeatedly before becoming president, during the campaign and after that, because what Russia wants is not acceptable to the Europeans or the Ukrainians, although Americans may go a little further to accommodate the Russian demand. But the Europeans have been the stumbling block as far as Donald Trump's quest for a ceasefire or peace in Ukraine is concerned. So the only credible achievement since he came to power has been the Indo-Pakistan war. And, unfortunately, the South Asian leaders have been behaving as if they are client states of the United States. If Modi had been like Putin, acted tough, that, our goal is to completely eliminate the terrorist bases, and we'll pinpoint and identify and go beyond to liberate the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, probably he would have got some leeway. But, as a meek leader, at the very first opportunity, India succumbed to the US pressure. This goes to show the enormous leverage this US administration has over the Indian government. Although Pakistan was vulnerable, they had suffered losses, and they feared that if India pursues its military operations, they will be on the back foot. So they had some sources say activated the tactical nuclear weapons in case if major damage was done to their key installations, military and civilian. But there was no intention of India, I think, in the initial stages, even though some losses were reported of the fighter jets. But India did not plan for a full-fledged war on Pakistan, let alone liberation of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So, in that way, the rhetoric from Indian side before the Pahalgam about liberating Kashmir and statement made by Prime Minister, Defense Minister, and Foreign Minister were more for soothing the frayed tempers of the BJP and its adherents or supporters. But given the ground reality, there was very little likelihood of India pushing beyond a point because of the American factor and various other factors. So, in that way, India being a bigger state with more military capability and more access to American markets or US access to Indian huge market, we had much more leverage, like Putin. But unfortunately, I think we have isolated even from our neighbors and from the global community by moving away from BRICS, from Russia, from our trusted friends, and completely put our eggs in the American basket. So it is no wonder that America has manipulated the leadership and almost thrust its policy to accept the ceasefire.
If you look at the entire scenario, Professor Pasha, and the way the things have unfolded, the manner in which Donald Trump has repeatedly spoken about this ceasefire, which was brought in because of him between India and Pakistan. If you look at, if you weigh the two countries, India on one hand and Pakistan on the other, do you think that Donald Trump has actually raised the stature, the diplomatic stature of Pakistan, when he repeatedly says that Asim Munir is impressive, Asim Munir has been very good, Prime Minister Modi has been a very good friend, Pakistan is a phenomenal partner. What has it done to India and Pakistan individually, if you look at the diplomatic stature of the two countries?
Yes, this is a very significant question. Because you see, since the demise of the Soviet Union, all Indian prime ministers have been working tirelessly to improve relations with the United States, from P.V. Narasimha Rao to I.K. Gujral, Deve Gowda, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Manmohan Singh, including the prime minister through his several visits. So, what happened over the last 35 years is unprecedented developments or growth in Indo-US relations, strategic cooperation, and the range of cooperation in all fields, all gamut of relations is something monumental. We didn't have such comprehensive relations with even Soviet Union or even Russia now. So it is not just bilateral; it goes beyond. It goes to Gulf countries on terrorism, global issues, and so on and so forth. So the American relationship has been the hallmark of all of these administrations. And what I think is significant is the Americans came to believe that what India has been articulating, that it wants to pursue strategic autonomy, that it wants to strengthen its relations with China through the border agreement and with BRICS and with Russia. So the pressure from the American side has been relentless that it should be on the American side. The Quad was seen by the United States as more of an alliance against China, whereas India perceived differently. We wanted to buy oil and weapons from Russia despite American objection, S-400, 300, and Su-35 also. So in that way, we felt that we had some elbow room despite American threats and threats of sanctioning, etc. Although we completely stopped buying oil from Iran under American pressure and also reduced trade to the minimum. But with China and Russia, we kept the door open for a variety of fields to cooperate and enhance our strategic autonomy. But this was not liked. So what the Americans are doing is to bring back their strategic alliance with Pakistan and invite Asim Munir and praise Pakistan as a great nation, great leaders, so on and so forth, as a nuclear power and trade and all, to show that they have an alternative, that India tries to pursue its strategic autonomy policy, that it can lose and American favor could be shifted to Pakistan exclusively as they did during the Cold War. So this is a clear message to Indian government that look, we don't approve of your trade with China or relations with China or buying of oil and defense equipment from Russia. We want an end to it. You are an ally of the United States and the West. And you better be like for Britain or France or Germany or Israel. There's no way. You can have relations with Moscow and China, but not strategic relations that we will be construed at the cost of the United States. So this is the message they want to convey by upping the ante with Pakistan, that look, we have an alternative and they are willing to cooperate. They are willing to offer the facilities. They are willing to work with us despite their relations with China. So this is a clear hint that we can also use Pakistan against you in case if you try to become too autonomous, too independent, and too close with China and Russia and BRICS and Global South, much to the dislike of us. We may also use, like they did in 65, 71, by balancing and promoting weapons sales and, the revival of friendship between Pakistan and Turkey, which is already ongoing, and also Jordan and Morocco and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries, which was a botheration for us in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. India was concerned about these countries being behind Pakistan, because not only the military advisors of Pakistan were stationed in these countries, but also finance and weapons were being sent to Pakistan. So that we removed through our assured diplomacy in the Gulf countries, and UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, they are now very close strategic partners of India, defense cooperation, and a whole range of issues, which was not possible during the last century. So in that way, now Pakistan is being rehabilitated, in my view, and they want to use it to put pressure on it. Look,
you are saying basically that Pakistan has been diplomatically rehabilitated well, and that too in the eyes of America. But India's stature now seems to be downgraded because we are seeing hyphenated with Pakistan. So obviously, it's a big downgrading for India.
Yes, this is the point I was trying to drive home. And it is also a pointer that, there is no room. Either you are with us or against us, like other countries. So you please don't misbehave with us as far as China and Russia are concerned. They are our enemies. You have to cut your relations and be with us. Like Pakistan, otherwise we will switch our loyalty and all the beneficiaries to Pakistan. So in that way, Modi is in a dilemma. He had promoted Trump as the next president. He had called him dear friend, and he had invested so much even before he came to power by giving lavish gifts to Biden and his team. So all that has now virtually been washed out. So he is in a state of confusion. We have not achieved our goal of isolating Pakistan and breaking the American support to Pakistan. But here you are, where America praises our enemy and doesn't talk much about cross-border terrorism and asks for evidence on Pahalgam and so on and so forth. So in that way, the administration is in a state of shock because, in the past we have suffered a lot because of the American mischief in India. Against Mrs. Gandhi suffered a lot in 71, then after the Pokhran, during the emergency, American CIA played a very important role in inciting virtual rebellion. Jayaprakash Narayan's call for the police, the administration, and the military not to obey illegal orders of Mrs. Gandhi, was a call for revolt. So in that way, the CIA played a very important role during that phase from leading up to the emergency. So any leader, and Mrs. Gandhi was defiant of the United States, and she absorbed Sikkim much to the dislike of the United States because that Chungi Valley and Chickensnaga, all that was very strategically
This
located.
again has given an opportunity to the opposition. And I was looking at the Congress's tweet when this statement by Donald Trump at the NATO summit came out. And Congress has tweeted that Trump said for the 18th time, I stopped the war between India and Pakistan. I clearly said if war is fought, I will not do a trade deal. The leaders of both countries said we want to do business. That is why we are stopping the war. The Congress. This is what Congress has posted, taking a dig at the government. So, is this pattern now, Professor Pasha, going to continue? Because Donald Trump has said this for the 18th time, and he might say it for another 20 times. Who knows? So, is this pattern now going to continue as far as the diplomatic politics? The domestic politics vis-a-vis this diplomatic stand of Donald Trump is concerned.
See, what is happening is between the United States and India, the engagement has taken place. Now, there are some doubts here that, you are getting closer to our neighbor, another engagement. So we were heading towards a marriage, but it is on the rocks because of Pakistan. So what is happening now is not the trade or tariff which President Trump is dangling out, but the fear that the United States might work for regime change in India, like it did in Bangladesh and Maldives, and causing trouble in Nepal and Sri Lanka, so on and so forth. So what this government is worried is, the leverage which the United States has come to acquire over the Adani corruption case, the arrest of raw agent Gupta, or the Khalistani issue, Pannoon murder case, so on and so forth. And we don't know any other leverage. This congressional report, which criticized or held the BJP responsible for anti-Muslim propaganda in the last parliamentary elections, which was used to call for sanctions on the Indian government. So all this is being used to frighten and virtually terrorize the Indian government. That look, if you don't submit, we have better cards. We will use it, whether it is regime change or Pakistan or other leverages.
One quick two questions related to Israel and Iran as well, because I was reading a few reports where Donald Trump is trying to meet Iran administration sometimes next week, regarding the nuclear enrichment program. Or is it because of change? Some experts are even pointing out that there could be a resurgence of a war. Just want to, before we wind up the show, just want to ask you that, do you see the possibility of the war between Iran and Israel resurfacing back again?
You see, Iran, I think, is reconciled for the temporary ceasefire. But the provocative statements from Israel and the United States point to that they are not satisfied with the status quo, that they were not happy with the ending of the war. They wanted to end the war on their terms. And now it is virtually on Iranian terms, that Iran had an upper hand by inflicting incalculable damage on not only Israel, but also on the United States through its attack on Al Udeid base and Ain al Assad base in Iraq. So Iran was ready for a prolonged war, and it would have engaged the United States forces in the Gulf region, threatening the security and stability of the GCC states in particular. And also threat of closing the Strait of Hormuz that would have affected the oil and gas prices and the supply chain and global economic crisis. So, and also the American Defense Intelligence report that Iranian nuclear program has not been so severely damaged as is claimed by the United States president, that it has been obliterated, or the Israeli claim that it has been completely wiped out. From all indications, it appears that some of it is still intact, and after some time, the Iranians can revive that. What is concerning the Israelis and the Americans is the defined posture of Iran. One is that militarily they had a fairly good upper hand, that their missiles were able to penetrate the Iron Dome and Patriot and other anti-missile defense systems. Secondly, is the pinpointed accuracy with which they have hit the targets in the Israelis in Israel. Thirdly, now the feeling that the damage has been much less than what was feared earlier. On the ground, it has been damaged, but underground facilities seem to still be in good shape, except the entry points and ventilators, which have been smashed. So, together with this, the Iranian Majlis's decision to suspend cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, this is a great shock to the Israelis, because the nuclear inspectors were given access to most of the declared nuclear sites other than the three which were bombed. So this and the threat of Iran walking out of NPT, raises the specter of revival of Iranian nuclear program. More so, the fate of more than 300 kilograms of enriched uranium. What happened to that? Suddenly, it seemed to have vanished. So neither the Americans nor the Israelis were able to capture that booty, in fact. So with this possession of enriched uranium and its ability to enrich from 60 to 90%, and if they are able to revive their centrifuge facility, and together with the denial of IAEA access and walking out of NPT, it gives enormous leverage to Iranians to go the way they want. I'm not suggesting that they'll become a nuclear power, but they want to use this threat to get the sanctions removed from the United States, which is biting them. And also the threat that Americans will bomb again the facilities if they revive, or if they come to know that its nuclear program of Iran has been revived. So they want these two guarantees. So these IAEA and enriched uranium and NPT threat is just to extract peacefully through dialogue, through negotiations with Omani mediation, perhaps, to impress upon the Americans that, look, we still hold the cards close to our chest, and we will not budge as far as our nuclear program is concerned, no matter what you did. Although they will emphasize that since you claim that it has been demolished or obliterated, there's nothing to show to the IAEA or to you that there is an active nuclear program to become a nuclear power. So in that way, the Iranians are going to use it to the last minute, that there's nothing more to disclose about the nuclear program. And as far as the 300 kilo enriched uranium or more, they will have to answer that. I don't know how that will be tackled by the Iranian leadership, but IAEA and NPT thinks they have to be approved by the Guardian Council or by the Supreme Leader. It has just been discussed, debated, and recommended by the Majlis, and no final decision has been taken. So these will be utilized by Foreign Minister Arachi in the talks, if they agree to talk, as the Donald Trump is expecting.
All right. So we'll have to wait and watch how things unfold as far as the Iran and Israel developments are concerned? What happens next week when Donald Trump meets the Iranian leaders and what comes out of it? Thank you so much, Professor Pasha, for joining on HW. Thank you.
Thank you.